Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to a random ramble. We haven't had one of these in ages. Somebody says the music suddenly turning on gave me a jolt. Yes, we are here with Lloyd Metcalf, a Maine-based artist and game designer. I am hoping to do more of these this year. We were doing them pretty much weekly for a while, and they were a lot of fun. A little less formal than some of my regular streams. Not that I'm sure we could call those really formal, um, yeah, so I'm really delighted to be doing this. We have a few people who've already hopped in, so welcome to Dutch and Honorhawk. And I would say hello to Legatus, but Legatus apparently made a comment 6 days ago. So I have no idea if you're actually here or if you were just making sure you were the first one. Um, Dutch was also startled.
I was
Uh,
I was wondering how I was going to hop in on that conversation, but I see that's on YouTube.
yes, 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 yes.
Ah,
Um, and Eraser is here. Eraser is our lead moderator and the
oh
the
my gosh!
master the
Check out the
master of the
painting.
links.
See the painting behind me? Just
Ah,
let me
there you
erase her
go,
head. I did a
Eraser.
giant eraser.
Um, he is the master of links. He very frequently knows I need links before I know I need links. Uh, Up to and including the website, your website. So,
There's a
um,
bunch of my websites. I got a handful of them.
and he is pleased by your painting. Um, just a reminder to everyone, I am monetized finally and at long last. Um, and the Kofi, we have a constant debate as to how exactly it is pronounced, is active. And I have more lab work that has to be run this week. So, if you can spare a little bit, don't if you can't, but if you get a couple dollars you could throw my way, I would greatly appreciate it. Hopefully, you are entertained enough by what we do here to make it worth it. And Lloyd, you, I believe, started illustrating professionally, at least in part for Luke Gygax. That's a
That
big feather in your cap these days?
that is a true story. That's kind of how I started. But for the longest time, I would be at conventions and people were like, "Oh, I remember your artwork from the first edition and second edition," and I'm like, "No, you certainly don't." I might have dreamed of that, but people were convinced that I had illustrated a long time ago. But yeah, no, my first, I was just trying to figure out digital illustration, and I was posting progress on Facebook. And honestly, that was kind of awful. And then just out of nowhere, Luke Gygax sent me a message on Facebook and said, "Hey, I just wrote my first adventure module. Do you want to illustrate it?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Wow, that is everyone dreams of getting that
Yeah,
that
right.
email.
So, I mean, but at the time, I mean, Luke Gygax wasn't like superstar Luke Gygax. He was just regular Luke Gygax, but still. So I was working full
He
time.
still
I'd
got the
come home
name.
and go down in the basement and crank out as many illustrations as I could. It was the Akarim series that I did, the first ones. He's re-released them now, and
Um,
the artwork's kind of embarrassing to be real. I mean, it's and I'm like my signature on the back is like giant, and I was like, oh, it's so embarrassing.
I um I have to say I'm not surprised that people think that, you're affiliated with the older editions because some of your artwork, like the one I used for the thumbnail, the reason I enjoyed it so much is that it really does um it has that kind of nostalgic feel to it that you don't see very often. Everything is so like,
It
I
does.
don't know, polished and shiny and too, I don't know, too computerized these days.
Yeah, and I tend to be sloppy and sketchy, and it reminds me of like sometimes it reminds me of like Diesel LaForce old stuff. And if you look at the stuff that I did for Lesser Gnome in their box sets, it kind of looks like a little like Jeff D and a little bit like Diesel and a little bit like it looks like that sketchy. Like some of my characters kind of wore socks because I couldn't figure out shoes. I'm not dissing on Jeff D. I'm just saying, I know he does like a superhero thing sometimes in his older stuff, So yeah, when I was going to the conventions, a lot of people would be like, "I remember you. I'm gonna find your old stuff and have you sign an old player's handbook or something." And I'm like, I don't think so, but okay.
Jeff T has been on this show,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've crossed paths with him a number of times because I mean, Gary Con and all the convention circuits. Yeah, he's uh he's definitely iconic to the classic feel of Dungeons and Dragons in the art of that you can put your fingers on.
Yeah. And that actually was the show he was on. We were talking about kind of older days of hello, Legatus. Um, we were talking about the older days of role playing, not necessarily D&D, but like Mark Miller was on and Jeff D was on and Scott Robinson was on, and we're talking
Hmm.
about that kind of the 70s camaraderie that, you know, he said, I'd ask somebody like, "Hey, I want, where can I get a copy of your new game?" and they just send it to me. Because he's like, we're always swapping ideas and,
Hmm.
um, you know, who we were working with, and I guess a lot of it was kind of done word of mouth, and you got jobs because somebody knew somebody else. Speaking of which, how did Larry Gygax get get you and your email address? Did you ever find out?
Oh, Luke
Yeah,
Gygax?
yeah, sorry.
No, no, he was just on my Facebook. I don't know. I came across him somewhere, and I just sent him a quick message and a friend request. It was back in the day when you could just send anybody. Everybody was sending everybody friend requests on Facebook, right? So
Hmm.
I always sent him a quick message and like, hey, I'm a big fan of your dad, and like, of course, like Melf and all that stuff. So I was like, I don't know, just out of the blue, it's just like sent him a Facebook message. It just kind of said hi and a little bit of fanboy stuff, and then we were friends. So, and then that first year after I illustrated those modules, he helped me, like I was living the artist life and work supporting people with developmental disabilities. And if you do social work, you're always broke. And so he helped me find a roommate and stuff to get to that first Gary Con after I illustrated, and
Hmm.
that's where. And then I met Zach, and you talk about Jeff and people finding illustration work because somebody knew somebody, and that's absolutely how I find stuff now, still, because somebody knows somebody.
Yeah, I think there's still, especially since, I know a lot of people have run into issues because they're looking for artists, and they end up getting scammed by somebody on the internet because you never know who anybody's real, and um,
Yeah, and there's a lot of people like on Fiverr that sort of look like artists, and they're using AI slop, and it's hard to parse it out. And there's artists out there that are, well, quote unquote artists, but they're doing AI stuff, and they're sending AI images of work in progress somehow. I don't know. It seems like at some point you work so hard at faking it that maybe you could just do the work.
maybe, but I mean, it's not too hard to program a computer to say make a video of me, sketching out so and so. I know that there was a Discord server once where if people were looking to hire artists and somebody said, "Oh, I'm an artist," then what they would do is they would have them get on the video chat and someone would say, "Sketch me out a picture of whatever." And
Hmm.
they, if they could take 2 minutes to like sketch it out quickly, then they,
Right.
then they're at least legitimate, and that. And they said, "Well, I could make a video of me drawing, a cat or whatnot." And somebody said, "Well, no, because you could have, easily done that ahead of time."
Oh, I know
Or you could,
it
or
sucks that
you
that's
could
where
use
we are.
you could use somebody else's video.
I started a Facebook group a number of years ago called the RPG Artists Hub, hoping to gather together a place for artists to find work and lift each other up and share contracts. And it's still there. And I try to keep tabs on it and trim out the AI. And I try to do a little diligence to make sure the people that are in there that are posting are actually doing the work. But honestly, I've only got so many spoons. So
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like how it is with everybody.
Yep.
So like, but yeah, it's been the world has changed even from just like 3 4 years ago. Like, oof.
Yeah, I try and keep at least a short list. You know, when I edit for people, sometimes they'll, say, "Do you know somebody who does layout, or do you know somebody who does art?" And so I try and keep a short list here and there, but
Yeah. But I just went to the convention.
it's
So I
really
went to
not.
like for me it was just going to a convention, and I think I showed up with a portfolio, that first one, because I was really like on cloud nine. So I got there and I had like a, because you get those like portfolios at Michael's that that had the sleeves in them. So
Mhm.
a lot of the work was digital, so I got prints and stuffed it in there, and I was like, I don't even know, 5 10 minutes through the door, and Tim Kask had my portfolio and was flipping through it, and I was already pretty excited, and I couldn't even help myself. Like, I don't know, he was flipping through, and I was just diarrhea of the mouth, just talking away, like talking about like why something didn't work or why something didn't look right, and Tim was just like, "Hey, stop talking, shut up." He's like, "This might be the greatest thing I've ever seen, and you're over here trying to convince me that I hate it before you let me even look at it." I was like, "Oh my god, he's right." Yeah.
Yeah, I think
You,
it can be tough. Like, I mean, I know at least one person. He does like Photoshop work, but he's in a wheelchair, so getting to
mhm.
conventions is next to impossible. And I suspect that's probably true of a lot of people who have, you know, maneuverability issues. Or in some cases, like, it's my husband's bucket list is he wants to go to like a major con at some point in his life.
Mhm.
Um, except I'm really terrible with crowds.
Oh, me too. Like Gen Con terrifies me. Like, and like even Gary Con is, it's so big now, and it's like it keeps, it's growing, but it's not growing, right? So it's got a cap because the town can only hold so many people, and the hotel
Yeah,
can only hold so many people, and like just being there and wanting to go, because when I was going there, I would rent a vehicle, but like just wanting to go get in my car and go somewhere was like a nightmare because the parking lot was so full and I'd lose my parking lot. Oh my
yeah,
gosh, yeah, and it's just so many people that like I have to go in my room for like an hour at a time and just watch cartoons and then come back out and socialize.
yeah.
Like, and it's a lot. Like it, even like the little cons. I go to North. I just got back from North Texas recently, and it's still like I need to have little breaks to go do people stuff. And I love doing the people stuff, but oh, Gen Con is terrifying when they see the doors open, and like I'm like, how do people get out of there if they have to get out of there?
Yeah, it's almost more of a claustrophobia thing for me than it is a social anxiety. Like I can interact with people fine. I find it exhausting,
Hmm.
but I can do
Yes.
it. Um, but like, yeah, you get into huge crowds where like people are, you know, squishing you, and yeah, it's almost more a claustrophobia thing. The convention I went to this weekend, um, I think there was about 4,000 people, they said. Because they had just moved to a new venue. They could
Oh,
only
wasn't it
do
the usual? Wasn't it the Round Hotel there?
Nope, nope, they've changed locations.
Oh.
Because the round hotel also had a cap, and they were breaking that cap. Um, so I mean, when I went last year, there were less people and it felt more crowded.
Hmm.
This year it was comfortably crowded.
Right. The
Things
last year that I the last year that I had a vendor table at PortCon, it was like, so this is a special moment because for whatever reason, one person decided to propose to another person right in the middle of the vendor hall, like right in front of my table in the PortCon. I was like, it was so exciting.
Sweet. Yeah, they attracted so many more gamer types this year that there were complaints that Crossroads was the only game company there. Nobody else was selling dice. So,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Um they I mean they went from like 10 or 15 games for the entire convention to 60. So,
Mm,
uh, and I had full tables almost every day. So, um,
that's great.
once they had the space for the games, people were perfectly happy to fill them.
Yeah, because I remember back like in PortCon wasn't really like didn't have like a ton of Dungeons and Dragons, which is my favorite, and there was like a few others here and there, but it wasn't like it was. It felt more like an anime con, but now it's evolving into a game con, so that's great.
Yeah, I mean, they're calling it a fan con. So, there was some
Hmm.
cosplay stuff, there was some anime stuff, there was some musical stuff. Um, Unfortunately, whoever scheduled the musical stuff didn't talk with the people scheduling the gaming stuff. So I did have one game where I had to yell a lot.
Uh,
The the wall behind me was vibrating because I'd been put right next to the music stuff. Hello, Taylor. Um, oh, hey, we have a question in the chat for you. When it comes to artwork, you can sell the rights to use it, sell the entire piece, or share it in a royalty-free setting. Is that correct?
it is. I I have a boilerplate contract that I use for almost all situations, and I really knuckled down and developed a boilerplate contract because well, probably he's still mad at me, but Frank Benzer stopped talking to me a while ago because we didn't have a contract and there was just miscommunication. It was nothing that anybody did wrong. It was just this huge miscommunication about deadlines and things. And he had expectations and I didn't know that there was pressure. And so, like, yeah, contracts, and in the contract, you can, of course, like, decide everything that you want to do. So you can keep original artwork if you do sticky finger stuff, or you can sell single use rights to the artwork, or you can sell exclusive rights in perpetuity to someone, which is like a logo or something. They're going to use it forever. So you can make. There's no rules. Like you can delineate how your artwork gets used in a contract, and it just simplifies everything. You can even say like you can even set up an artwork to like you have 5,000 reprints of my artwork, and then oops, and then I want to renegotiate.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm losing my headphones. Dang it. So the yeah, contracts are really this great essential tool, and but you can set up all of those things. And I have some stuff that I put out for royalty free public access, and I just have a little legalese tagline. I just want credit. Yeah.
Yeah. I and for the record, in case it's not obvious, this background and everything that was used in the advertising and everything else, Lloyd did. Um, I usually use stock art for the backgrounds for all of my shows,
Hmm.
and I always have to make sure to read the terms carefully because so far I haven't run into any issues. Because I don't make any, I'm not selling the art, I'm not making money off it or anything else. But some of them don't. I'm trying to remember. There's one I ran into specifically that did not want to be used where it was going to be like publicly. Um, they didn't want it used for YouTube videos or things where it was going to be like publicly out there. Um,
Huh, that's an interesting. I've never seen that, but yeah, you
I don't
can.
know if they were worried that somebody was gonna. I don't know. Maybe they were thinking about like somebody using it on their website or something. The
Hmm.
terminology wasn't terribly clear, so I ended up not using that one. But I always want to make sure that I'm kind of abiding by
Right. I think
what.
all the folks that are you putting stock art on drive through have a little legalese section that comes with each download or on
Yeah,
their site somewhere.
somebody, I can't remember who it was. You had to download the you had to you had to buy and download the requirements in order to buy and download their stock art. It didn't. It was like a freebie. It didn't actually cost anything, but you
Hmm.
had to like literally go through the process of like so-called purchasing. And on one hand, I was like, I wonder if that costs sales because people have to go through this whole extra step. And then I thought, that's really clever because there's no way you can say, "Oh, I didn't see the terms."
Oh, that's true.
because you have to go to the trouble of downloading them in order to use anything else.
Yeah, I was thinking immediately, like thinking it was just like a workaround way to post your legalese. But like you don't even need a lawyer and stuff to get that legalese. I use there's a book about the ethical guidelines for illustrators and artists or something like that that I use a lot, and that's how I built my contract was out of that.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, when I do editing, I have kind of a stock contract that, it says this is what I'm going to do for you. This is what I am not going to do for you.
Right.
Um, this is when you're expected to make payment. This is how you're expected to make payment. And everybody, looks at it and signs it before I do anything. The
Yeah.
first thing I ever edited that I made the mistake of, I was like, it was like a friend of a friend kind of thing. And they were on really a tight deadline and they just kept putting off, oh yeah, I need to like, get that done. And of course the result is that, they walked off owing me $250. That they never did pay. So,
So Legatus
um,
is saying that Frank Frazetta was the first to force the issue of artist-owned artworks, and every artist after has him to thank for that. And that might be right. I don't know. I have an interesting Jeff Easley story though. Jeff Easley, in the old TSR building, they would just bang out like tons of stuff, like drawings and whatever, and they would because they had to get it photographed and do whatever it was that they were doing. I don't know how they operated, but I remember Diesel was telling me one day that he just went out to the dumpster and there's this bunch of this Elmore and Easley artwork in the dumpster out back because it was just taking up space. They published it and nobody used to like assign a value to the originals. So he was out there like dumped with his feet in the air, diving through the dumpster, and went through home with like a whole bunch of. That's how he got a bunch of TSR artwork one day. Was
mm,
just dumpster diving, and then like they slowly began to realize that those originals had value. And I think Jeff used to say that they weren't really like particular about the way they used the materials. Like what goes over what. Because they figured that they were just like a one-shot piece of art that was going to get photographed and move on. So they weren't like thinking of longevity of their artwork like we do now.
yeah, I think it's, a lot of, the reason a lot of the things that we collect now are valuable is because they weren't valuable then and nobody did nobody took care of them.
Right. Yeah, it was
Now
hard
that
to find them because they were just, like, okay, we published the magazine.
nowadays that everybody, takes care of everything, uh things are less valuable because they're everywhere.
Yeah. Eraserhead is saying that Frazetta was the man, and I do agree. I absolutely love Frazetta, and I'm going to be rather unpopular when I say that Frazetta, I have a little chip on my shoulder about Frazetta, especially after watching Fire on Ice, not, whatever, the movie, that little documentary that they did on him. And there was like a bunch of interviews that got put together. And like, the thing that bothers me about Frank Frazetta when he's talking about his artwork is that he's like, I don't know, he's such a New York guy, and he wanted to be magical, right? So he would say something like, I don't know, I was 14 and they just said draw a pretty girl and I could draw a pretty girl, so that's what I did. It was easy. And he just totally neglects like his hours and hours studying anatomy at the zoo. And I can't remember, there's a painter that he used to work for in the studio, and like he pretends none of that exists. He's like, oh, they just said draw this and I could do it. It was great.
I think though that sometimes some of us take what we're good at for granted. Um, I once in a while, I'm not going to be able to think of any example right now, but there'll be things that I'm like, well, everybody can do that, and people will look at me and go, no, 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 they can't, and I'm like, oh, I just thought that was a thing. Um,
I
but
don't know.
so I don't know. Maybe it's false modesty. Maybe it's,
Maybe
I
Frank Frazetta was not known for his humility and modesty, though. So
I recall in the 80s and 90s, artwork was available in cards, posters, books, portfolios, prints, reprints, etc. Honor Hawk says intensifying imposter syndrome.
Oh my god, imposter syndrome is real. I mean, there's so many times that I just did a piece for Jolly Blackburn, and like he thinks he loves it, and I'm glad he likes it, but I was like, I don't know, man. And I'm like, do I just keep agreeing to this stuff? Is he's gonna put some stuff in Hackmaster, and I'm like, is that what you want? I
You're
mean,
worried. You're worried he didn't want your stuff, or
I'm worried that the stuff that he wanted wasn't like, I don't know, wasn't up to. He took a bunch of sketchy things. So like this background that you have on the show here is like it's a quick sketchy digital sketchy thing, and I was like, you didn't want something more polished. I mean, I guess it's
see,
Hackmaster.
that's
It
what I
makes
was trying
sense.
to say earlier. I really love the sketchy look. Like that's the reason I wanted this for the background was I really enjoy that look.
And maybe that's
I
it. Maybe I feel like I'm supposed to struggle more. Maybe you know.
I'm tired. I'm like everything looks polished and everything else. And it gets boring.
That's been
Uh,
my thing. That's how I've decided. That's how I'm standing out in the AI world is by being the opposite of that.
um, Honor Hawk says, whenever I translate anything, I feel I could do better. Translation is an art in and of itself because, languages just don't want to work well together very frequently.
Mm,
So I met Honor Hawk because he translated Knight and Avalon RPG, which is probably in my top 5 games to run. Um, and I certainly didn't see any issues with it.
right.
It reads
I
it reads great in English, and it didn't start out that way.
I have no idea how like some people can. There's cultural things that don't just translate by in a couple of words, and I have no
Yeah,
idea how that works.
yeah. Um, they're okay. I normally have a like don't get into topics that might be contentious, but hopefully everyone can behave on this. Um, there there is a translation. The translation being used for Nolan's Odyssey uh, is by a woman who wanted to translate it in exactly the same number of words as it was originally written. And apparently, this was very controversial because there's all this terminology that does not translate in a single word.
Mm,
Um, and so there were people upset about like whether this then became entertainment or, you know, accuracy.
right.
Um, but I mean, there are languages that just don't. Is it Greek that has like 6 different words for love? I think it might be Greek. Um, so you can't just translate something as love. It's the type of love based on the word that they're using.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I edit. I love words. I could not do his job. Even if I was good at languages, I couldn't do his job. Um, Honor Hawk, remind me, do you only translate from French to English? Do you do it the other way around? Do you do other languages? I forget. Legata says some artists have their specialty when it comes to black and white inks, canvas, paints, pastels, etc. How many different styles have you tried? Which is your favorite and why? And which is the most profitable? That's an interesting question. I would not have thought to ask that last one.
I have tried all kinds. And I still I have not settled down to a static style. So digital artwork is easy, fast, accessible. It's great for publishing because you don't have to take a picture of it, right? You have the digital file when you're done and you're off to the press. But I really enjoy the tactile feeling of pencils. I still enjoy ballpoint pens. I have a bunch of I'm not exactly sure what they are. They're not jelly roll pens, but they're some kind of Japanese like pen that I saw in a Feng Zhu video, and had an excuse to buy art supplies. But really, like, profitable is a funny question, because is it more profitable if you're making your own RPG to just bang out a quick illustration digitally and print it? Or if you're running a Kickstarter, it might be more profitable to do sticky fingers drawings and sell them or auction them off in the Kickstarter after it's published.
He has clarified, are there more requested forms from customers, buyers, publishers, etc.?
Ah, probably digital is the most requested format, just because it's easier to, like, a lot of the stuff that I did for Zach initially for Lesser Gnome was pen and paper, but halfway through Whisper and Venom, he said, if this Kickstarter gets $20,000, I'll get you a Wacom tablet. Will that expedite the process? And I was like, oh yeah, whatever you say, Zach. Yes, if you can get me that Wacom tablet. So usually digital is just the way to go. But like, I don't know. I like actual art, and this is like a weird thing to say. Just before I went to Texas, I was going through. I have a drawer of stuff, and like I was just trying to figure out what to bring with me, and I just found a Larry Elmore drawing stuffed into a book in there, and I was like, oh, well, I'll take that. I mean, it auctioned off for a lot of money that I split with the convention. So,
Yeah, I mean that.
what do people
Those are.
want? I don't know. Like, but if originals I think are gaining a value, especially in an AI world, like where everybody's questioning even digital work, like its legitimacy. If you've got it on paper and you put those marks on paper, it's hard to deny that somebody didn't put those marks on paper.
Yeah. Um, but there have been people that, did work before that was even a thing, that are, getting accused of. I think
Yeah,
the I think the witch hunt over AI is becoming a real major issue.
yeah.
Um,
There's some artists with some real polished style, and because their line work is so, I mean, people that have spent like 20 years doing this. Unfortunately, AI reflects some of those styles, and what do you do? I honestly, I don't even know.
um, Frank Menser put out a post a week ago, I think, saying he's, 75 and he has a huge pile of work to do before and this are his words, not mine, before I depart. And he was looking for a co-writer and developer, and somebody, but it wasn't. It's like you split profits. Um,
Yeah,
and
somebody tagged me in that post too, and I know Frank is still probably a little grumpy at me, so I didn't respond. But it's a tricky situation when somebody wants to share profits. Who's doing the math?
um, well, what amazed me was that somebody asked what he expected what he expected the income to be, and he said, well, you never know for certain, but um, and I don't remember exactly what the total was, but I do remember it made my jaw hit the floor.
Well, let's
Because
uh,
I tend to think of, the role playing is usually pretty thin margins.
TTRPG. It is, and I I don't know. I certainly don't want to rain on Frank's parade, but him and a handful of guys that were pretty well known in the classic industry tried to do a company once, and it didn't pan out so well. Was that diplomatic enough of it? Like, so
Well, but it's one of
um,
those things that, like you said, you get a Larry Elmore drawing and you auction it off. And
yeah,
if you've got the right audience.
so those sort of things where people want to share profits, you gotta go into them knowing that, well, I might not get paid, or just have a minimum. Sometimes I would say maybe just have a minimum baseline. So like minimum of,
Hmm.
I don't know, $20 an illustration, and then but there's a difference between profits and sales, right? So if a book is selling at $10 a copy, it doesn't mean that that's a profit. It means there's probably like $4 profit there.
Hmm.
So and it all depends who you ask, who's doing the math when it comes to that stuff. So, you
That's
know.
kind of a question too, when it comes to art, because one of the things I see a lot. So, of course, there's a lot of discussion around AI, and there are a lot of suggestions people have about what to do instead of using AI.
Hmm.
And one of them is get an artist who's willing to like split the profits of the book with you. But that
Hmm.
seems very, I mean, the writer is already not guaranteed a profit. If
Hmm.
they split the profits, nobody's guaranteed to make their money
Hmm.
back. And it seems, I mean, do writers, do illustrators ever even work that way?
I mean, I have, but I don't. Like I said, I don't plan on getting paid out because what if somebody's going to publish print on demand in Drive Through RPG, they're probably making $2 a book. So we share the profits. Like, what am I going to get? $1.50 a book, and like, how many copies can you realistically sell in Drive Through RPG? And I think it hit platinum status is like 1,000 copies or something, right? It's hard, and I was just at a presentation at a convention where there was a person who had written an adventure, and he's like, "Well, what else are we supposed to do for art if we can't use AI?" And my answer is always the stuff that people did before there was AI. You can still do those things. There's like Jason Blackma, Jim Shields. There's tons of people on Drive Through RPG that have stock art that's pennies for $1 or $2, and like, yeah, you don't have exclusive rights, but this, and then there's that European, the thing in the UK where they opened up the library of all the historical books that were in the public domain, and that's how we did it, and you can still do that. And I would rather see something with public domain art than AI art.
Tiny D10, I think, runs entirely on public domain art.
Yeah.
Um, I
Dyson
would,
Dyson
I would,
Logos is opened up to like tons of free maps.
I would say that I think less people were creating then.
Mm.
Because I know, people who do stock art that they say like this particular picture's been used like, 50 times.
Yeah, and that's what non-exclusive rights are. So like
Yeah.
if you produce something and it does well, you're like, "Oh, well, then maybe I need to find an illustrator to do exclusive rights
Yep.
because we
Yep.
sold 200 copies." But if you fund it on Kickstarter, you can also get artists to do like a quick pencil sketch, and it can be a stretch goal. Like if we hit whatever however many dollars, we're going to have this artist finish this cover. And then
So,
nobody's committed.
so I had a guest on once who frequently makes the comment that Kickstarters lead to how does he put it? Kickstarters lead to unrealistic expectations about how well RPGs usually pay.
Maybe. I mean, my Kickstarters, I've done a lot of Kickstarters, but my Kickstarters are small, under $5,000, because it's all just me. And
Hmm.
I very adamant about keeping it simple. So Kickstarters are kind of just my pre-sales, really. It's like the thing's almost already done when I launch.
Hmm.
So
I
yeah, so
think he
like you
was.
see it.
I think what
I'm
he
sorry,
was
go ahead.
saying was it's hard for him to hire artists because he doesn't do Kickstarters, but they look at the money Kickstarters put in and make the assumption that they should be getting paid X when he can afford to pay Y, kind of thing.
Well, the tabletop role-playing community is notoriously terrible on what they can afford to pay artists. I think it's always been that way.
Or
I don't think it's
anyone. I mean,
new.
they run entirely on I have never understood how, companies can run so
Well,
entirely on freelancers
well, by way of
and not pay
example,
them.
I use this example quite a bit. Like back in the 90s, the early 90s, or maybe mid 90s, I was living in an apartment in Portland and I did two illustrations for a local tourist magazine. I think there was like a half and a quarter page, watercolors. I sent them the originals. They did the photography. They dealt with everything. And I'm trying to remember exactly what it paid. I think it was like $250. And the last, when I stopped working for other people, stopped taking commissions, I think I was doing quarter pages for $25 a piece. And that wasn't that long ago.
Hmm.
In the tabletop gaming, so tabletop gaming artists, yeah, the pay kind of, it's getting better. So Jolly has actually been pretty fair with his numbers and as fair as anybody can be for Hackmaster. And I think people are coming around to that. But sometimes it helps to stick your head outside of the tabletop role playing world to see what other artists are getting paid in other arenas so that you can bring that back in. And honestly, that's why I started writing my own adventures, because people just can't afford to pay what's going to pay the bills. And so, and that's why the stuff that I think Jim Shields has got a good thing going. He does he does whatever he thinks is going to be cool and puts it out there. And if you can pay $1 or $2 for it, great. And if 100 people pay him $1 or $2 for it, it's paid for itself.
So I'm curious. Let's say somebody's written a game and they want you to design a cover for it. What does that usually look like?
Oh, it looks like me worrying about making a cover for somebody.
But I mean, like, what would the contract look like? Did they give you the game and you design it? Do they tell you what it is that they want?
Well, hopefully you get a really complete, brief description of what a person wants without it being dictatorship, sort of where they hold your hand with the pencil in it. Hopefully it's just a sort of a general description of some key points and things to consider. Hopefully they've looked at your artwork and want artwork in your style. I'm very gun shy of anybody who comes to me and says, I want you to do this artwork, but in this person's style, because that's not a good way
That's
to
not my
hire an
style.
artist.
Go to that
Right.
person. If
Exactly. Yeah. So, and then, yeah, there's always you discuss the terms and you slap it into a boilerplate contract and it's easy.
I, dr-
The
I
contract is necessary though.
I sketch out little buildings. If you want Boris Vallejo, go see Boris.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And you'd be surprised how many times people say, they'll come to me wanting these like polished, cartoony, cutesy things, or just like whatever, things that are just totally not my, like, I can't hit that mark and I'm not going to enjoy hitting that mark. And like, if you want Jeff D artwork, call Jeff D. I can't be Jeff D. that's,
Yeah, it
that's why
seems.
we're individuals.
I was going to say it seems very weird that people would.
Well, Wizards notoriously has an art style that they have now. So right, but and they have in-house what I don't remember what they call it, like spec sheets that you have to be able to do, and that so fair enough, right? They're going to hire you, but they're going to have a spec sheet. It's going to be very detailed, and like the last I remember is in-house they have like techniques and brushes and things and color palettes to hit those.
That's almost more like an industrial line than it is.
It is.
Than it is art.
Yeah, I feel like that's approaching the like the Japanese anime art schools where they, you know, hundreds of people in a room just trying to do the same thing as fast as they can. I'm not necessarily a fan of that myself.
I was thinking Disney.
Oh, yeah, same thing.
Um,
But yeah, so if somebody wants a cover, it's usually just a brief description and like for the love of Banana Republic, don't send somebody an AI image said as this is placeholder, how close can you get to it?
Um, what about time? Like how much if they said, oh, this goes to print like in 3 days, are you gonna laugh?
Well, I mean, that's 72 hours. I mean, I guess I can make a painting in 72 hours, but it's not going to be cheap. I mean, I do like to sleep.
Yeah, I tell people that about editing. I'm like, they're like, what are your rates? And I'm like, that depends on how fast you want it and
Right. So there's
exactly what
there's
you
a,
want done.
yeah, there's that meme. It's a Venn diagram of good, fast, and something else. I don't remember what it is.
Cheap.
Cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, pick two.
Yeah, pick two. Yeah, you only get two of those, but even still, like I stress a lot about covers. Covers are hard for me, and Jolly just wanted me to do a full page recently, and it wasn't even in color, and I struggled with it, and I'm like, dude, let somebody else do this. But I've get to the point where like I can admit that I'm struggling, and that's good, and I'm way ahead of any deadlines or anything, so communication is always key. Like I'm just having a hard time hitting this. Can we move on to something else and come back or circle back around to it? Yeah.
Legatus asked, how often do you get to free range? Or said a lot of do this change that.
Free range. Well,
I think just draw whatever you want.
Oh! I do that all the freaking time.
I'm doing a fantasy role playing game. Just make me a cover.
Well, you got to know, like, you got a
trust
genre.
Your creativity.
You got to have a genre, right? You got to know some details about the game. So, illustration commissions are illustration commissions, but like a lot of what I do, I will draw in Procreate, and it has the brush capture feature. And honestly, I'm kind of doing it for the YouTube content sometimes, but when it's done, it exists, and if it fits what somebody needs and they want to pay a few bucks for it, that is ideal. And I think that's how they get the best artwork. But that's for me. Some people really love taking on those commissions. I'm reminded of like Ed Bickford, who came into the RPG world from comic books, and he'll take commissions, and he does wacky, incredible stuff on his lunch break at work. Like, that guy's a machine. It depends on, everybody's different, and I'm just not good under pressure.
Well, I was kind of curious, like if somebody gives you a vague outline of what they want, and you do up the painting, and they say, "This is really great, but can you change that outfit to green?" I suppose with digital art, that's much easier than.
That's an entire rework. Well, you're changing somebody's. Yeah, that's an entire rework, and you put that in the contracts. Like, you get some revisions. You get minor revisions. Minor revisions might be like, oh, they're holding a wand. I was hoping for a scepter, right? But if you put somebody in plate mail and like, oh, I wanted that to be a ball gown, that's a repaint. That's a whole repaint. It's a new illustration at that point. It's not, not everybody gets that, so it's on the artist sometime to explain that. And I've had to eat that a few times, like, all right, I'm going to redo it, but for next time, just so we know, this is a repaint.
I mean, I would have assumed that if you were drawing digitally, that you could literally just change the color. Like, it would take like 2 clicks.
Changing the color isn't bad, but changing like the costume, it's easy for a person to change a costume. It's not easy to change it in a piece of artwork, because how does it interact with everything else? How does it change the shades? How does it change the color palette? How does it change? You know what I mean? It's not always just that simple, but that's why you need a good description going in. Without it being a dictation. Jim Ward was particularly good at that. Like, I'll always give him credit for that. When he would come at me with like, I just need a cover with kind of like this kind of stuff in it, and I would start having covers. I remember like the the last Ocarim adventure that he wrote with Luke, we had this conversation, and he's like, there should be a ship with some people doing some kind of adventure stuff, and there's a kraken there. I know that much, and the seas are kind of rough, But the way he wrote it, it was like I had the same. I was on the same page as him with the inside of a paragraph. I didn't have to read the whole adventure module. I knew what he wanted. We had a little conversation about Latin sales versus some other type of sale that I had Googled up, and like it was so easy. But writing the art request for the commission is an important job. It should. I don't feel like it should just be come off the cuff. Like I need an orc with an axe. Do you need a happy orc with an axe? Do you need a silly orc with an axe? Do you need a angry orc with an axe? Is he
Is he
attacking?
leaning on it, or is he?
Right, but without being so narrow. Like okay, his left shoe is untied, and you got to let the artist be the artist. But however, you kind of need to get to that same vision, and it's not always easy. And that's why being an art director is sometimes a really fun job, and sometimes an awful job.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody said I need an orc with an axe, and they refused to give me any more details than that, I would be very tempted to have an orc splitting wood.
Right. Or, I mean, who's to say an orc wouldn't go to her senior prom with an axe? I mean, it seems right.
And, there's also things like, are we talking, the pig-nosed orcs from days of yore, or are we talking, modern day
5e.
orcs, which are, modern day orcs, which are basically humans with green skin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I mean, I guess if they're doing a 5e adventure, you probably have some idea of what they're expecting, but
Yeah, and that's almost the curse of like Wizards and their art style is that everybody expects a 5e adventure to look like 5e art, and I honestly think it's more fun to have a 5e adventure with classic 1e art. Because what was exciting about the old Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and the basic books were the art wasn't perfect, and it looked obtainable. Like I think I could draw that, and I found that exciting. It felt more visceral and it felt more immersive to me. Like I didn't want unobtainable art. I wanted things that felt, in my hand that I could maybe do.
yeah, I also think that it probably depends a little bit on the genre. I mean, so just because I used this example earlier, Knight has very polished looking art, but the whole idea is that it's this, futuristic, very, sci-fi-esque. Like you would expect it to be polished. On the
Right.
other hand, if you're doing like, light Tolkien-esque, fantasy stuff, it feels more natural to have that kind of sketchy look to it. When it's too, I complain about this in movies all the time. Like everything is like too clean.
Mm.
And it's not just, well, somebody had a fight and they don't really get hurt. It's like the scenery is always clean, the people are always clean, the morals are always clean. Like everything is like nothing's ever dirty.
But sometimes it can be jarring, though, if you have a bunch of artists on a project and you go from one style to the next in places that it doesn't make sense. Hopefully, that's where your layout and your art director are working together.
If you have to redo something for someone, do they still get the rights to that one, or can you turn around and like?
Usually, the commission is for hopefully it's a minor revision and you're not totally redoing. If it's a redo and the characters in it are specific, I mean, you gotta talk with the publisher. You can't just assume that because it's a redo, you can resell the old, right?
Mm-hmm.
As part of the job on this one commission, they're commissioning you to get to that finish line, and if you've got a few iterations on the way, that's part of the job to get to that finish line. Typically.
So So unless they basically say, never mind, we've gone a totally different direction and we need you to like change everything.
And that's why you have a kill free in a contract. So if they decide that they don't want you anymore, or for whatever
Oh no,
reason,
no,
you
no.
can
I
always.
meant like if they've totally changed their idea about what they want the cover to look like.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, when I've commissioned artwork and changed what the cover is going to be, I'll still take the cover art and use it somewhere else in promotions or internal or
Hmm.
something. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Rachel is in the chat and said this is the kind of talk I've been needing to hear. Rachel, do you have any questions? I know that you do some artwork, and I'm kind of curious. And hello to Jacob, who I think popped in earlier, and I didn't get a chance to say hello to.
Yeah. But really,
Um,
like the path for me to find work as an artist was just sharing art on social media, and it might be dangerous now. I don't even know, but I still do it. I still do work and share it on social media, and then sure enough, it pops up. Then I'll go to conventions and stuff, and people will contact me after the convention and want work. But it's really been social media. It's
mhm.
how I got the job for Luke Gygax that kicked everything off. Was just posting the process videos, like trying to figure out how to draw this. And
How how well or how important do you think conventions are, not just to art, but like for like small game designers?
I
How
think it's
important are
pretty
conventions to
important.
getting them out there?
It's not about getting. When I go to a convention, I don't go with the idea of selling stuff. So like I
Hmm.
have a vendor table. Having a vendor table is a place where you talk about your stuff, and the sales and the interest always comes after the convention for me. So people contact me later, and so they should figure out how to contact you while you're at the convention. When I was going to a convention, thinking I was treating it like a craft market, like this is where my profit comes. I must sell everything on my table. Like that's not where the profit comes from. The profit comes from when people pick up a sample or something and take a zine that you've done or whatever, and then 2 weeks later, like, hey, I picked up your zine and now I got this project that I'm working on, and what do you think? And that's kind of how the profit comes around for me. So, taking a game to a convention is a chance to talk about your game, to let people play it, let people interact with it, and ask you questions about it, and for you to see the look on their faces when they find problems with it.
Hmm.
It's more valuable that way than just thinking I need to sell $5,000 worth of stuff at this convention. You know,
Yeah,
my my 2 cents.
it's one of the reasons I am always curious about that is that Drive Through RPG gets something like 100 uploads a day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I talk to people all the time who will say, "Well, I worked really hard and I made this game and I uploaded it to Drive Through and I've only sold like 2 copies." And I'm like, "Well, what have you done to like promote it or market it?" Well, nothing.
Right, you
Like
got to be. It's just like
they think that it ends the sell it the development of the game ends when they're done writing it.
right. If you build it, they do not come. So just like Kickstarter, just like everything else, you have to make yourself a following, and then do that thing. You know, and it can be hard to have the patience because if you write this really great game or this really great adventure, you want to just shove it out there as fast as you can. But like really, it's important to make sure that you have a following of people that want your stuff. You need to have some collectors and people who are behind you. So going to convention is a great way to do that. You can get to talk to people and walk around and share your stuff and see what other people are doing. And
Networking.
when you've when you've interacted with somebody in person, they're on your team almost immediately anyway. And suddenly that's a backer.
I just want to say a quick goodnight to Honorhawk. Uh, he's from Europe and it is getting late there, so
Oh, I was going to say I need to do a quick 5 minute because one of
yes,
the
I was
many
going to
things
ask.
Range Creative does is he has a food truck, and I'm cooking pork in my food truck.
All right. We are going to take a 5-minute break then. chat. Come up with questions, throw them in the chat so that we'll be ready to roll in 5 minutes or
Yes,
less.
anything about art, conventions, painting, I don't care. Anything. Let's talk about it.
I've never gotten to use this screen before, so I'm very excited.
All right, let's do it.
And we're back. How goes the
Yes.
pork?
One of my batches was done, so I really appreciate you having the patience to let me do that. So
No
I
worries.
didn't overcook it.
We don't believe in wasting food here.
That is the hardest part about running a food truck. You know, sometimes you can't gauge, and you just sometimes you just gotta throw stuff out, and it kills me. But there's only so much of my own cooking I can eat. No, but
Uh,
that was kind of, we were discussing this before we came on. Like, and one of the things that I've been getting asked a lot is like how I managed to not have a real job. Because people like, like people ask me like what I do, and I tell them I'm the free range creative. My friend Sherry gave me that name because I do so many different things that you can't just say it in a second. So I tell people I do whatever it takes to not have a real job, and being an artist, I is all about diversifying. Like I make Yule logs and sell them on Etsy. I built the food truck, and I do RPG stuff, and I go to conventions, and I produce video for public access TV. So they're all topics that are on the table, I guess.
I mean, food trucks are really huge around here. So,
Food
hey,
truck is difficult. It's not what I thought it was going to be. It's like in a magic world, everybody thinks you can just drive around and park wherever like you do on TV, and that's not how that works.
no, especially now that like Portland has changed all the rules as to where people can go, and I assume other towns and places have other
Even
rules
if
over
you're
on that.
even if you're invited at an event in Portland, the city wants $100 a day to be there. So
I mean, that sounds like the people that invited you should be doing that. Should be paying that.
there's a reason why I don't go to Portland.
I'm actually just curious. This is a total side thing, but considering that my chat is from all over the place,
Mm.
um, I kind of wish I'd thought of this before Honor Hawk left. But are food trucks a thing where other people are from? Because every once in a while I'll hit one of these things I just think of as just being kind of a normal breakfast hash. I think a breakfast hash is like just being, a life sustenance,
Hmm.
comfort food. It turns out that it just doesn't exist in many, many other places.
I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I have to say my most popular breakfast item comes from Korean street toast, and there's a lot of street vendors in Korea selling Korean street toast, and it's absolutely delicious, and it's like the best thing that I can make at the farmers market. So I know Korea has them, South Korea, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think vendor food is big in a lot of, small countries like that, but I'm just
Mm.
curious as to like
Food truck.
food trucks are like a staple here. Like people are like, "What? You have a food truck? Awesome, I'm there."
Mm. Yeah.
Goofus says, "Does your food truck allow goats?" The goat does not eat pork, so we're all good. Goofus
Right.
says ice cream. Goofus is from the opposite side of the world, I'm guessing, since it's early winter there. Um,
Aussie.
and
Would you?
I think I vaguely remember while we were freezing, there were, complaints about it being,
Hot.
120 degrees there or something.
Right. But yeah, we have ice cream trucks here too. It's like
I feel
even
like
in
they're
the
less frequent than they used to be, though.
they are because like I don't know, they like the ice cream sandwiches and stuff aren't as magical as they once were. I don't know. But I do remember being a kid and every once in a while, even in like we live like in the country, it's very rural. Every once in a while I do remember hearing the ice cream truck roll down the street. Oh,
I
taco
never
trucks are the real biz.
Sydney, Australia. Um, I don't remember ever living anywhere that had an ice cream truck, but my grandparents did. And my grandparents were also willing to like buy me stuff from the ice cream truck.
Uh,
So
there is no reason an ice cream truck should have ever rolled past our farm in the backwoods of Maine. For somebody must have had one and lived near us is the only reason I can think of it. And it was magical though when they did come by and we'd get them to stop and beg my mom for $1.
that may be a huge difference too. I mean, it used to be when we were kids, a lot of that would be like that.
Oh, goat, you just faded out and went into a tunnel.
Oh no, no tunnels. Um, am I back?
You, you're in and out.
Oh dear.
Oh, now you're back. Okay.
Chat, am I in and out for you, or is whose end is this on? Then there's the gap. There's always the
Okay.
like delay
Yeah.
between us talking and like when they actually can
Right.
respond.
So you're sounding good right now. Yeah, there was like
Okay, good, good. Goofa says, do you display any art on your truck?
actually because I I really struggle with the cartoony style. I paid my friend Cindy to do the logo for my food truck. It's the Dragon Wagon Food Cart. So it's dragonwagonfoodcart.com if you want to see the logo. But yeah, I commissioned an artist for it because I tried and I was just making turds. And I have a friend who makes wonderful art, and I paid her some money, and great.
I, I will say artists tend to know each other, so that probably makes that a little easier too.
Yeah, well, but I didn't want her to do something like I wanted it to be her style of art, right? So here's my art director hat. Like I look around and I see all of the artists that I know, and I find somebody who's making art that I really like and matches what I want, and I say, I have Dragon Wagon food cart. I had a vision of a dragon in like a radio flyer, and I wanted her to do it in her style because, and it was perfect. It's perfect. It needed no revisions. We had to work together a little bit to get a black and white version, but she just let me pick out the colors, and it was great.
I mean, you didn't hire her and tell her you wanted her to do the artwork in the style of Larry Elwood?
I did not. Imagine that. Yeah, it's the Dragon Wagon because I was writing and illustrating Dungeons and Dragons adventures and the Dragon Wagon. But there's a Dragon Wagon bookmobile, so I had to go Dragon Wagon food cart to sort of not get in trouble and have a website.
Um, Legatus had a question a bit back that I almost missed. When it comes to promoting, I've seen at cons artists' alleys. How important is it to have business cards, bookmarks with website, Facebook, etc., QR codes for links? What do you find is the most
All
effective?
that.
I mean, business cards fit in your wallet nicely, but I feel like they also then get lost in people's wallets recently.
They do. And you know what has really been effective is when I'm a guest at a convention, I do what's called the artists gathering, and I will get as many artists as I can get together who are present to come to a social hour. Usually it's near the watering hole, but like drinking isn't required. It's just hanging out. It's family friendly. If there's kids present, we watch what we say. But we just get together and let people talk about their artwork. We usually doodle on index cards because not everybody likes the intense eye contact or wants to be on stage if there's a like a presentation. So it's a really casual get together. But there's been a lot of connections made at artist gatherings. When people just start chatting like, oh, I like your stuff, and then like you remember it because you're having that genuine interaction. And sometimes it's hard to get booth attention at artist alleys, like,
Hmm.
hey, look at me, and it's like people have these amazing displays with the wire racks and everything. And it's so much to take in. And then sometimes I'm not even sure if the person behind the booth is the artist. And it feels like so do the social stuff, even if you have to put on your autism ADHD mask briefly, go do some of the social stuff. It helps. But that's why the artist gathering is what it is. Like we all can doodle on index cards, and if there's silence, it's fine.
Hmm.
So we try to make it inclusive, and because sometimes I struggle with that too. So I want people to be comfortable and included, and still find those connections.
You also end up with a list of people you know are actually real and not bots on the internet.
Yeah, and I'm watching them doodle pictures while we're chatting, and so I know what their art looks like, and I know that it's not AI. And
Legata said the Dragon Wagon, lots of freshly grabbed beef, claw marks and all.
the Dragon Wagon has turned into Porky Bowls, so I do pork and rice over grilled veg with different flavors. And that was totally by accident. Like, what can I do that isn't deep fried trash that you find at every fair?
Jacob wanted to know if your icon is a red dragon with a sandwich.
It isn't. Let me see. Where do I? Yeah, it's dragonwagonfoodcart.com. I don't know how to share stuff in the chat
Down at the
here.
bottom, there's a little computer monitor with an arrow pointing upward.
A computer monitor with an arrow pointed upwards. Oh, share screen. Oh, I have to pull up my screen though. Okay, hold on. Oh, of course it's. Oh, okay. Let's see. Share
Oh, Jacob.
screen.
Jacob already found it. Jacob is the eraser. Jacob is putting you to shame.
See, so there's the little. I was gonna like share the one up top, but it's maybe it's the one on Facebook would be better. I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, Cindy did this little dragon for me, and I love it. It's great.
It's a green dragon in a red wagon. All right.
It is, yeah. And
Okay.
I
I'm gonna
that was her
warn you.
version.
The fact that you stopped sharing before I removed it from the scene means you may. There it goes. You're gonna end up in a little glitch with your sound in just a minute.
Oh, uh-oh. What do I do?
Um,
Okay, it fixed itself, or you fixed it. Okay,
it takes it a minute
okay.
to work itself out. It gets easily confused. Evie Mux has worked out most of its
Mm.
bugs, but that one for some reason, unless I remove it from the scene and then you
Mhm.
stop sharing, it does it every time.
But that's what I've. This is the kind of stuff that I've had to do though to just realize that I'm going to make a living as an artist, right? So I love fantasy art, I love RPGs, obviously. So, but like, it doesn't pay my bills. So I built a food truck, and that worked. But I've done a ton of stuff that just didn't work, and I've you know I just keep trying stuff, and sometimes it works. And the sales on Etsy work out. I make Yule logs with logs with candles in them, and it works. I can't always find those logs, but just keep doing different stuff. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a little bit of the same boat. I mean, I can't go back to the work that I used to do for varying reasons.
mhm.
Um, editing, is kind of going the same way. In fact, I think editing is going the same way as artwork, faster because the number of artists who say, AI art is terrible, but editing is fine, like Grammarly is fine, is kind of funny to me.
Yeah, I have an editor who edits my stuff, and there's no way an LLM or any AI bot could do what he does, because he knows the game systems, right? And he knows like the context, and he knows he actually puts M dashes into my text where they're supposed to be, and like, but like, but he knows
It
the
will take the M
background,
dash from my cold dead hands.
right? But he retains my voice in the text,
Yeah.
which is what and it's not something I'm willing to sacrifice. So I'll just always pay Scott to be my editor, and if he's got like kids and stuff going on, then I wait, and I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, but it still means that there's less editing work.
Mm.
The magazines I used to work for are, struggling some, so there's less work there. But I pick up what I can for gigs. I work where I can, and I also figure the fact that we almost never need to do grocery shopping because of all the work I put in around here probably save. It may not bring in much money, but I think it saves us a ridiculous amount.
Well, that's part of like making a living as an artist too, like being a professional cheapskate, or as I say, professionally frugal. Like I don't need fancy like name brand stuff. I don't. If I did, I wouldn't be able to do what I do, right? So I'd have to go get a regular job. Balance.
I've gotten less good at it recently, mainly because my husband really likes a lot of, processed fast food crap. Um, but I was standing around one day at work and everyone was talking about how much prices had gone up at the grocery store. And then they looked at me and they're like, "You're really quiet." And I was like, "Well, I don't really have anything to add. I haven't been to a grocery store in 2 years." And they were like, "What?"
I miss one of the things I miss about living in Wisconsin and Milwaukee was this grocery store called Searmac. This is totally off topic, but Searmac is a beautiful grocery store with tons of inspiring things. Anything from cactus to salted fish to weird soda. I loved that place.
I didn't know we had a topic. I thought we were just kind of going along as,
Oh,
people like
well then
fast
let's
food.
talk about living in Milwaukee. So yeah, like we ended up in Milwaukee for a while because like my wife wasn't ready to come back to Maine. We were in Florida, which was terrible. Ooh, I got a kitty. And
Is there a
we just
cat?
weren't ready. Yeah, he just totally like clawed
They,
my leg.
there will be cries for cat on camera if you don't
His
let the cat get on
well,
the camera.
no, he's got. Well, now he doesn't care. His name is regular size Rudy. His when we adopted him, his name was Solange, but we decided that that's his big city drag name. His real name is regular size Rudy. Anyway, what was I? Oh, so
Milwaukee.
we moved to Milwaukee because it was close to GaryCon, and I was like, for some reason, I was the guy that was managing all of the merch and stuff, so it was just getting all shipped to me, and we found an apartment with an attic there, and like the grocery stores were great. Like there's a real Latina population, and there's like a real Asian population, and like the Asian food market at the end of our street was just mind-blowingly huge. Cermak was also just, it was like idyllic in there. Like I don't even know how to explain it. Like it's what all grocery stores hope to be. There were like the displays were just perfect in the produce aisle, like all the time, and stuff that I've never tasted. Like, and I, as somebody who's like on the spectrum, I should not like change, but I turned into an adventurous eater. Like at first, I was like, when I was a kid, I only ate ketchup sandwiches for real. That was it. But now I'll eat
Ugh,
anything now.
ick. Um, sorry, I'm not a big fan of
That's
ketchup.
that's what you have to have. The Legatus is saying the Dragonlance novels used to have great artwork, and that's because Larry Elmore.
Yep.
But like he's doing his own thing now. Like Larry's just like, I paint what I want to paint. If you like it, good. If not, I'm fine.
Isn't isn't he going back to work for Wizards of the Coast? I thought he was one of the old timers that was going back to.
If
I
they can
know.
afford him, and he deserves every penny he gets. Like I know when he auctions off his, like even just like a small drawing on eBay, he gets dollars that I would like to get.
He was
And I love it. I'm so happy that he's able to do that. You know.
he was on Twitter once and he made a comment about the fact that people would try and get him to come on to YouTube channels. And he said, I don't
Mhm.
really know why, because, my day is kind of over. You really should be getting like, new, young, and up and coming, indie artists and game designers. Uh, and I, I couldn't help myself. I responded and I said, I have indie game designers all the time. I would still give a limb to get you on my show if you weren't
Yeah,
booked out to the end of time.
yeah, and it's that work that you can almost feel like you can walk into. Larry does like a lot of crossover between fantasy and realism, you know. But what I like best about Larry is, well, one, his personality is like always worth having on a show. But his pen and inks, I feel, are more my favorite than even his paintings. I really love his pen and ink work, and I make no apology for that.
Have you
But
met him?
yeah, yeah, oh yeah. Like we've had a number of booths next to Larry and been to conventions, and of course when I was doing stuff for GaryCon. Yeah, and that's how I found a Larry Elmore drawing in the bottom of my drawer because we were in a booth next to each other and chatting, and he just did this drawing of this gal with a bow and said, "There you go." But yeah, he was great. I mean, he like if he doesn't have a lot going on at his booth, he's the guy you want to be next to because he'll tell you like in great detail about his process, his painting, and how he mixes his mediums for oil paints and like every little step. Like he's happy to share it. He doesn't keep any gates.
Does he still do conventions?
Not anymore. Well, recently he stopped doing them. I mean, he went for a while. He was doing classes. Like you could go down to Kentucky into his studio for a week and paint with Larry Elmore, learn his process. Which I thought about it for a while. Like I thought maybe I could save up the money and do it, but then I was like, I don't have the patience to do the Larry Elmore process. Like he draws and redraws and redraws, and he gets it all perfect, and then he'll put like his drawings in. Now he'll put them into Photoshop to arrange the painting, and then he'll go and get that printed onto Masonite or whatever it is that he uses, and like, oh my god, I just don't have the patience for it. I'm more of a Jeff Easley style painter, and like my first convention that I second convention that I went to was North Texas RPG Con. So when they had me come to North Texas, I told the organizer, Doug, I'm a big Jeff Easley fan. I love his artwork. And so he said, fine. He put me in a booth right next to Jeff Easley. And then he gave us both art supplies. And he says, you're going to paint while you're next to Jeff Easley. I was like, oh, Jesus. And then come to find out Jeff Easley was actually my roommate, so no pressure.
Yeah,
And
I was
like,
gonna say.
Jeff though, he'll set up his canvas. First off, one of the best pieces of advice Jeff ever gave me is like when you're at a convention like this and they expect you to do something, he's like, do zombies or undead. Don't never do a pretty girl. If you screw up a zombie, nobody knows. So, but he set up his canvas, and he sits there and he's talking and whatever, and he just takes a few whacks at it with the pencil. And, he's like, yeah, let's go get lunch. I'm like, all right. So he's got like this like great little base drawing going, but it's like can't quite see it. But then like he'll come back and like muck around with an underpainting. It's like some sienna, and it's like within 20 minutes he's got this amazing underpainting. Like, gee, Jeff, you could just stop right there. And he's like, oh, let's go get dinner. It's always about like taking a break to go get food, and then just like in no time, like he just hits landmarks and looks like he fiddles around with the brush for a minute. He's a magic, and then it's this great painting every time. He used to do the paintings. They'd give him like this 4x4 panel at North Texas and some like house paint and stuff, and he would do these big dragon paintings. Like, I don't know. He was great though.
Who
Jeff
is your
Jeff would
wait,
be it was very he wouldn't talk much, but then every once in a while he'll have a great one liner that'll knock your socks off and just like crack you up. Who's
who
what? I'm
is
sorry.
who is your favorite artist?
I like Parkinson. I like the energy in Frazetta artworks. Um, I wish you could have Jeff Easley's personality. I like Jeff's pen and inks are terrific though. So it's somewhere between Jeff Easley and Frank Frazetta, but they do two totally different things and for two totally different reasons. Um, and I like a lot of the artists, but it was probably my favorites because I think when I first my introduction to Dungeons and Dragons was the red box, and I think that's an Elmore piece on the front with the dragon. But for some reason there's a pencil. Jeff Easley's got a pencil in there of a giant snake, and it's a pencil artwork, and that held an energy for me that I really liked. It felt like maybe someday I could do that. I don't know why.
I I tend to like surrealistic art or abstract art far more than art of things.
Hmm.
Um, what is your take on? I mean, I know they don't do make for great covers or anything, but what is your
I,
take
would- I
on
would
different styles?
I would love to see more like impressionist artwork in tabletop games. And it's kind of been my ongoing goal. I love impressionism and just getting the feeling, the concepts of something with minimal lines, and not minimalism, but impressionist. Like Singer Sargent sort of looks. But like Morkborg. When I first saw the art from Morkborg, I was like, I don't get it, I don't like it. And then, like after I flipped through a few pages, I got it, and now I really like it.
Do you think the art drives the game or the game drives the art? There's a lot of questions about people will say, um, well, you can make games that don't have art in them, and then other people will say, well, you have to have it to market. But I also
Yeah,
think that people's visualization of what their world looks like whether it's actually in the art or not,
When
tends to
Zach
make a.
was
Sorry, go ahead.
Zach, yeah, well, Zach was first making Death and Taxes. Somebody told him that art doesn't sell, and we thought that was so funny that I actually made us T-shirts that says "Art doesn't sell." Like, the art definitely certainly needs to shake hands with the content. You can't expect. You can write a great game, but you need to. Art can sort of set the environment, the vibe, the feel, the place for your brain to start thinking about what the words are saying. So you can't judge a book by its cover, but we all go look at the cover and then we start reading the book. So it has to shake hands. The two should shake hands. So when he was doing Death and Taxes, it's a very old school, old basic D&D sort of feeling box set. So he had Jeff D do the cover, and it was a good choice. And he had me do a bunch of the interiors, and we were doing a pen and ink, and we to maintain that old school feel. But like if I was a 5e artist, we would never be able to pitch that as an old school box set.
There's a saying about, which came first, the thought or the word. And I sometimes think of that like game design in terms like that, which came first, the visual or the world.
Well, Tim Kask, I just did a zine that's like Tim Kask got to look at a bunch of those line art, like the one you have here. That I was just doing a bunch of these digital grayscales, and then do the black with the light highlights. And Tim's like, this is all I need to run an adventure. Just he would write around an image an awful lot. And we got together, and he's just like, we decided that you could just publish this whole thing with these images with a backstory around them. So, but it can go both ways. You can certainly illustrate text, but dang, you can. I don't think writers should give up on writing about an image. Like, what's the story in an image? I ask myself that all the time. I'll draw stuff and then write for it.
Yeah, I don't visualize, which is something that comes up quite a lot.
Oh, I have some aphantasia myself.
Yeah, I think we talked about that a little bit.
We did.
I'm the one who like doesn't even dream in pictures because I have like ridiculously huge extent of it. But I think that's part of the reason I've never been crazy about systems that don't have a world. World agnostic systems don't do anything for me because I don't feel capable of like creating worlds from scratch because I can't see them. On the other hand, you give me, and I mean, I don't want to be micromanaged either, but he give me an outline, and I can work with that. But I need someone else's visual in order to create the story.
I can kind of flip flop. I can't tell you exactly what's in Fehu or Greyhawk differences, world differences. I don't know, because when we were kids, we weren't buying Dragon magazines. It definitely was not in our budget. We were just slapping together whatever we came across. And I don't know if I've ever completely read the entirety of any of those world settings, and I have them, and I'm a little embarrassed that I haven't gone through them in detail.
Well, I mean, it's like GURPS is technically supposed to be completely system agnostic. And yet they had to make 100 different supplements so that people could set their game in other worlds. Savage Worlds is kind of the same thing. So every time I hit a new game designer who says, I want to design a completely system agnostic game, I'm like, good luck.
Sometimes it's been my experience, and everybody's mileage may vary, but it's been my experience that if you try to appeal to everyone, sometimes you don't appeal to anyone.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. But I think, how do you put art in your book at all if your book is not for any one group?
You got to choose an artist that represents what you're doing. That's
Well, but like you were saying, you need to, when if you're designing a cover, you have to have some idea about what the game is about. Well, if the game isn't about anything, it's just a set of rules.
Well, and then kind of do like the GURPS cover does, which is like swords and laser guns and I
Mm.
don't know.
There we
I
go.
don't know
That's where
because
the
I
that's
don't
where
do it.
this that's where the surrealistic art comes in.
Yeah, I don't know because I don't do it. To be frank, I just don't. I like swords and wizardry. I like high fantasy, and sometimes I'll write to different settings, but still like swords and wizardry in excuse me in medieval Swahili setting, whatever is still swords and wizardry. I
I was going
just
to ask if you'd done art for any other genres
yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah, and it's hit or miss, but I'm not particularly. Sometimes I drift into sci-fi, but I'm not particularly good at it. I enjoy it, but I like. I'm not sure how to explain it. The type of sci-fi. So like, I got like a drawing that I've done of like this flyer that I really liked, but it was like based on a John Deere Model B tractor, adapted to a flying sort of Star Wars runner, that kind of stuff.
Um, what about horror? You were talking earlier about draw zombies because nobody can tell if you've messed
I
them
like
up.
I like horror in the fantasy setting. Alyssa, I tried to do some Cthulhu stuff for Alyssa Faden, and I certainly dropped the ball on on that one of those projects. But that was a learning experience.
Cosmic horror is not your thing.
It's just not. I mean, I want it to be, but I don't know how to. I don't know. I can't pull that out of it. I used to do a lot of paintings that were like exaggerated surrealist horror. That's fun, but like I can't sort of make that tension of a Cthulhu adventure in a spooky mansion come through.
I think that's almost one of those areas. Like I joked about it earlier, but I think that's where surreal and abstract would probably come in really handy
Mm,
because what Lovecraft was great at was not actually telling you too much information.
yes.
Horror is defined as fear of the unknown.
Mm,
And then we got like vivid descriptions of what Cthulhu looks like, and now we have Cthulhu plushies.
right.
And that really just takes something out of it.
I remember the first time I read Mountains of Madness. I was like, oh my god, what are we getting at? I was worried. I was worried about like what a DC-10 looks like in that book, but it's just like I don't know. It took like come on, like it's but it's like you put it in context. Like he's writing in the 20s, and like yeah, it's there's this tension that you never really quite see, but something's not right. He was good at that.
I I've always said that my favorite of like the original horror IPs is Nightmare on Elm Street because they actually did a very good job of hiding Freddy until like halfway through the movie.
There's a lot of world building in that too, isn't there? Speaking of world building.
Yeah. Um, Chat, do we have any other questions? We're kind of slowly getting to the wrap up point, so I want to make sure everybody else has a chance to.
Yeah, so like if anybody wants to, I don't know if I can help anybody out with their creative endeavors, I'm happy to do so. But,
Um,
but like I said, I sort of fell into it by accident, and it was just using social media at the right time.
what is your favorite art piece that you've ever done for someone else?
Oh, easily that one that I was talking about, where Jim Ward gave me the description, where for Luke's Akarim, the number 3 Akarim, with the Kraken in the ship with the Kraken and the guys fighting the Kraken on there. Yeah, and I haven't been able to hit that mark ever since, and I don't know if it was just Jim's. It was a perfect whirlwind, and I was excited to paint it, and I couldn't stop painting, and yeah, I did that painting in like a day or so.
Nice.
Yeah.
That You got in the groove, huh?
I did, and it doesn't happen to me. Like a lot of times, I lose focus, and I have to go. It takes a lot of work to get back there, you know. But yeah, that I can't remember what the name of that third module is called, but yeah, I really like that piece. In fact, I can't get it out now. I've got a big mouse pad, a game pad here for my mouse pad with it that I printed on it, and I made posters of it, and yeah, by far one of my favorites.
Practicality point for anyone in the audience or who watches this later. How do you decide how much to charge people?
Oh, that's an ongoing problem, isn't it? Like
I mean,
what
I'm
the
super
market.
bad at it when it comes to editing, so
Sure, well, like the proper answer is whatever the market will bear, and that's a terrible answer. You know, and it's awkward to ask a publisher what their budget is. So you do have to set a rate, and then eventually, though, you can work out what your rate's going to be. But the best way to set your rate is to find out what everybody else is charging. That's been my experience. So find other artists. It's not it's not improper to talk about money. It's okay. So like ask people what they are getting for a quarter page, half page. A lot of artists in artist alleys have rate sheets, and honestly and frankly compare the work that you're doing to those artists. And if you feel like you're in their neighborhood, then but some artists will undercharge. So right, so, Terry Pavlett would kill me. I love Terry Pavlett, but the first time I had a booth next to him at GaryCon, I was trying to sell original drawings even for like I don't remember, like 30, $40 or something. And Terry would do custom character sketches for $30. And I'm like, Terry, what are you doing? You're undercharging. I mean, he was part of the first edition Dungeons and Dragons, and he was like, that's all they'll pay. And I'm like, no, Terry, that's all that you're charging. you know? Oh, he was killing me with his prices. Every time I had a booth next to him, I was like, you got to charge more, dude. I spent 4 or 5 years talking with Terry Pallett, like, dude, you got to charge more. So like one time I decided to commission a piece of artwork for him, and then he charged me this monstrous amount. And I was like, oh, now you get it.
well,
That guy.
because you've already told him you'll pay it.
Maybe that was it. But then he started charging more, right? So like, but he was sort of setting some standards in the industry that were problematic. Like that job that I had that was paying $25 for quarter pages. It's because Terry was doing those quarter pages for $25. Color, and I can't do that. I mean, it's not worth it. But like he definitely came up. He got better. Unfortunately, we've lost Terry Pavlett, but that's how you just got to ask people what they're charging, and it's what they're charging for commissions, and compare apples and oranges and oranges.
I know authors that have been quoted $125 for a cover, and I know authors that have been quoted $1,200 for a cover.
I charge more for things that I don't want to do,
Oh, you don't like
and
doing
that
covers at all?
I charge more for things that I don't want to do. Some covers, some people, some covers, some causes. I cannot wait to do artwork for them. Others, I know that there's going to be a mountain of revisions and minutia, and so I cook that into my price ahead of time sometimes. And I mean that makes me sound like a jerk. I know it does, but
No, I mean it makes it sound like you know who's going to be really difficult to work with.
yeah. And frankly, if you've got one person making the decisions, it's probably going to be easier than if there's a team of like 6 people that are deciding what's going to be on the cover. That's been my experience too.
So Favre says his cover cost him $600 from his usual artists.
That sounds fair. I mean, I don't know the artist, but I mean, and it depends on the use, and that's an exclusive rights, right? So if you tell the artist like I just want first publication and you can use it afterwards, maybe it'll be less. You could sort of bargain into that a little bit. I don't mind like waiting until somebody publishes something and then letting me use it in other places.
Mhm.
A lot of times I don't, but it's just nice to know that it's there. But like I'll make prints and take it to a convention for sure.
That includes
Yeah.
my
Any advice?
licensing.
Somebody's Goofus is saying any advice for finding new
Yes, and
ideas.
yeah.
Oh, Lands of Lunacy. You know what? I like Lands of Lunacy for 1E makes more sense than Lands of Lunacy for 5E because I didn't know 5E the system very well when I wrote that. But I do like Lands of Lunacy because it kind of gives you like a lot of freedom. And that's one of those sort of abstract covers too, isn't it? But so for finding new ideas on my YouTube channel, I do, and when we do the artist gatherings, I just take a piece of paper and I blob a bunch of ink, washed out ink on paper, and then draw around it, and eventually something comes out of it. I do that a lot. When I'm looking at a blank canvas, it helps to put something and just like a little. So even painting digitally, just a bunch of scribbles, row after row after row, and then start doing line work around it. That's how I get my ideas.
Ooh, I just looked it up because I wasn't familiar with that one. I love that cover. That is, yeah, that is
Yeah.
very. The layers are great.
So like silhouettes and like just yeah. But it's like a really simple. It's a really Lands of Lunacy was a really simple thing. I just really needed an excuse. I had I had a group of players that I would write an adventure for, and inevitably they would end up not doing it. So, Lands of Lunacy it's sort of like um, uh, oh shoot, the vampire setting there.
World of Darkness.
No, it's D&D vampires, but like
Oh,
every
Ravenloft.
yeah, like every bad guy has their own domain. It's that sort of idea. So like when my players were hooked into this adventure, they were in this domain and they weren't getting away. Yeah, that's it. The setting guide. Yeah, and I really personally, I think the 1E Ostrich version came off better than the 5E because, like I said, I didn't know the system well enough, and I didn't really know how to control all the moving parts of the mechanics. I think when I read that, when I did that one, I was thinking what I knew of 5E was the starter set, right? Which is kind of a different game than 5E. The one with Fandelver in it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was excited about that. Then after later, like 5E's fun. I like to play it, but I don't like to run it. I like the 1E stuff is for me.
I mostly got away from D&D entirely when I was in college. I just discovered there were other systems I liked better, and I mostly run these days, and I mostly run, some iteration of horror, though I do,
Hmm.
I'll do dark fantasy, I'll do, sci-fi horror, I'll do cyberpunk horror or whatever, but a lot of it tends to be darker stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and the I don't know, 5e is just it feels like a superhero game to me, and I'm not big on superhero games are pretty much the exact opposite end of the the gradient
Right.
from horror
I'll tell
games.
you. Once I had to put it in a compartment in my brain. Once I put 5E in the compartment of the Immortals box set, it was fine. Right. So like Immortals box set for anybody who doesn't know, basic D&D was like you played a character up to level 30 whatever. And then you could become a god. You'd become a level 1 god. And that's kind of like what 5E explores the character after they've achieved power, and it's hard to divorce them from that power. So, like underneath 5e, you can always lose your super magic sword. It's not cooked into your character mechanics so much. But once I set 5e into like, okay, we're playing Immortals. This is like my level 1 god character. And I know that I'm probably not going to be too popular for thinking of it that way, but
I mean, it makes sense to think of it that way, but it doesn't change the fact that I don't like to play or run anything that's that high power.
yeah, well, I struggle controlling a 5e game. That's why I'm happy to play it, but I can't. Like once we get to level 5, I lose control of all my players. So like, Swords and Wizardry is just, and Matt and Susie, Matt Finch and Susie Mosby are just great people, and I love that game. I love their books, so that's what I publish everything for now.
I The only 5e game I've ever found that I really enjoy running is there's a company out of Germany called Vortex Verlag. Um, and a couple of years ago, they put out an adventure called The Straightway Lost, and it takes place in Renaissance Italy. And all of the players are functioning within. So, like, if you're a warlock, you can't just go walk down the street and be talking to your patron, because you'll be burned at the stake. So, like this weekend, I ran a game, and one of the characters was an astrologer who would, give the leadership advice based on what the stars said. And he was really a warlock and just, hiding it under this whole. But it tamps the power down when you have to be within the constraints of this somewhat conservative society. And it makes it very interesting. And I love history. So and they hired historians when they wrote this game.
Wow. Yeah.
So you start out in a team building exercise as a murder mystery, and you end in Dante's Inferno. And they've just recently put out a new one that they were kind enough to send me a copy of. So I'm hoping to.
Oh yeah.
Hoping to look at that at some point and give that a read. But they also make versions of it for Ars Magica, which I also really enjoy. So.
Yeah, I certainly don't get to play as much as I want to. Oh, it's Ravenloft that I was thinking of. Yes, that's right. It's Ravenloft. But I certainly don't get to play as much as I would like to. And going to conventions gives you all that exposure. I got to play test Stephen Radney McFarlane's Delve, and that was super fun.
Nice.
What else? I don't know if Bunnies and Burrows just recently had its 50-year anniversary or something. 40?
It was this year. Yep.
Yeah, in North Texas, we were celebrating that.
I really desperately wanted to go to that, but once again, travel is difficult these days. So
yeah, I drove from Maine. It was a long haul, let me tell you, but worth it,
I drive a farm truck that gets 10 miles to the gallon, so that was not.
Oh yeah, well, just before this show, I was fixing the rocker panels on mine, but the stuff so that's one of those things, living as an artist. So yeah, that truck is paid for.
Did you drive the Dragon Wagon to Texas?
No.
That would have been hysterical.
Everybody wants me to bring it there, but nobody thinks about hauling it 4,000 miles. No, it's I got a mini cargo van, a Ram CV, which is just doesn't have the seats in it. It's just like a utility van. I use it for driving around and painting and stuff.
I would love to have one of those. I could haul all the goats.
You totally could. Yeah, that thing is, what, it was problematic when I bought it because I don't know a lot about vehicles. I had bad bearings and stuff in it, but you know what? I absolutely love that thing. It's got so much secret storage space. It's got a lockable shelf so I can have easels and paints and stuff in there. I can just pull over and paint plein air wherever I am. Yeah, it's great.
I used to have this really old Suzuki, and somebody told me once, they're like, I think that is the smallest SUV ever created. And I said, yeah, but it holds an amazing number of goats for the size of it. This is how I buy vehicles.
when I was young, I had 2 goats and they were amazing. And when I work at the farmer's market, there's 2 or 3 people down there that breed goats. They keep posting pictures of baby goats in my social media feed, and it's just so they need to stop doing that. I don't want goats. I can't have goats. Maybe I need to write that somewhere in here that I can't have goats.
Just to remind yourself every so often.
Yeah. Well, when I was younger, it wasn't a problem, right? Because they would hang out with the cattle. They didn't stay in the fence. They just thought they were cattle, so they stayed with them. But now, I'd never be able to contain a goat.
The trick is there are breeds that are not they're not wanderers. There are breeds that are very much homebodies. So that's the trick. That's the trick.
You don't need to make this easier for me.
Am I making it easier or harder?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Well, I want to thank you very much for coming.
For sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about how people can contact you if you're taking commissions, any events you got coming up? I think you're a special guest here in at least one place pretty soon.
I'm probably not taking commissions right now because I am super busy with the food cart. So, yeah, I'm going to be a special guest at Page, the Philadelphia Area Game Convention, and Katahdin Con in Portland is coming up in, I don't remember, October. And
Sounds
I'll
great.
always be I'll always be a special guest at a convention if I can get there. And I bring the artist gathering with me, and we do it there. So, but yeah, lmetcalf.com. I think I've seen Eraserhead has posted the links already, but dragonwagonfoodcart.com, Eraserhead. I'm on YouTube as the Free Range Creative or the Psychic Owl. I mean, it's everywhere. If there's a person with ADHD that does stuff, just Google my name first, and the rest of it will come up.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much
Anytime.
to the chat and for your questions. I hope everybody had a good time. And everyone have a great day. Happy headbutting.
It's a fucking good.
Eclectic Goat's got videos of indie authors and cinema love. A passion for the weird and the strange. She's snappily dressed and only slightly deranged. Come and meet the Eclectic Goat, lover of classics and whiskey notes, disciple of horror and the written word. Happy head hunting, come join the herd. Shows might be a little improper. We've got real zombie, fake whizzes the otter, pizza in one hoof, glass in the other, deciding which role-playing games we will cover. Come and meet the Eclectic Goat, lover of classics and whiskey notes, disciple of horror and the written word. Happy headbutting, come join the herd. Got a thing for black and white screens, crappy horror with low budget scenes. Choose on the history, spits out the law. Time for another whiskey pour. Come and meet the Eclectic Goat, lover of classics and whiskey notes, disciple of horror and the written word. Happy headbutting, come join the herd.